What's up, everybody? We're coming at you with the very first episode of the Real Estate Visionary Podcast. I'm here with my guy, Cody Kuhn, just north of Atlanta. And Cody, it is great to have you on board today, man. The whole point of this podcast is to talk to rockstar agents that have casted a big vision for their company, and then they're actually accomplishing that. So my compliments to you. I can't wait to dig in and share some value that you bring to the table here with our audience. But welcome, man. Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, definitely, man. Happy to be here. I'm making history on podcast episode 1, so I'm excited to see
Yeah,
what you think.
yeah. We are coming out of the gate swinging here. I know we're going to bring some value today. So let's jump
Absolutely.
right into it, man. You are a dual career agent serving the North Atlanta Metro, or tell me more about that geography that you're serving.
Yeah, so primarily North Atlanta metro areas, inside the perimeter occasionally, but I've got a lot of good referral partners kind of closer into Atlanta, south of Atlanta. So I'm thinking, Cobb, Fulton County, Cherokee County, Bartow County areas is where, primarily I'd say 90% of my business is right now.
Right on. And you are, so part of the magic that you bring to the table here, our friend Jeffrey, your coach Jeffrey,
Yeah.
my buddy Jeffrey, I guess, that connected us. Man, it was a great conversation at first, and hearing more about all the hats you're wearing, the results you're getting. I just want to set the stage just a little bit for anybody listening, what you have going on. So when we say dual career, tell us what that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I guess initially dual career started out as my full-time W-2 job, as a lot of realtors start out. Got my license on the side of that to kind of do as a side thing, but fell in love with it as most people do when they get in the industry. And so ran the dual career with those two for, several years, which has eventually led into my short-term rental business that I'm running now as well. So kind of like a triple career, dual career, triple career. I've got running here between the three of those. So managing an industrial real estate manager role, residential real estate sales, and then my short-term rental management business. So all three of those plus family, which is basically another full-time job too.
Yeah, let's not sell the most important job you have short as family man. Yeah, no, you and your wife Marissa have your hands full with a lot of awesome kiddos running around. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we've got my daughter Kylie, 7, and then we have 3 boys, Boston, Koa, and Easton, who are all 3 years and younger, so 3, 2, and 10 months, and they are absolute maniacs. We love it, man. They keep us busy, and super blessed. And I had all sisters, all my cousins were girls, so it's the coolest thing to have the 3 boys so close in age.
That's fun keeping up with y'all a little bit on social media. I saw something, I think, yesterday where you're talking about, man, when these kids start wanting to skip school to go play golf,
Yeah,
someday it's going to
I'm
be
sure
tough to tell them that's not a good idea.
I'll be joining the club here. Now the older 2, definitely my oldest one, he's 3, loves getting out on the course, and so he's getting the age now he can sit through, full 18 with me. Koa, my middle one's probably getting there, so we'll be tearing up the golf course this year, so I'm, love that.
Looking forward to that once y'all get out of that freeze that you've got in Atlanta down there going on right now.
Yeah, we're not doing much golfing right now. It's way colder than it's ever been down here.
Yeah. Well, let's jump into this a little bit, man. Let's talk now that we set the stage. I mean, it's safe to say you got a lot going on. Your time is spoken for in a lot of ways, yet you've accomplished a lot of very, very positive, impressive results. And I want you to tell us a little bit, just, man, what was, the whole point of this is to cast a vision for your business, but it may not have started out there, right? What it looks like today in your real estate business probably isn't where it started. So take me back to when you first wanted to get into real estate. What were you trying to accomplish? What was your vision for your business at that point in time?
Yeah, no, and it actually goes back even further than when I even got my real estate license, right? So out of college, I knew a guy that I met in college that was a really well-off, very successful real estate agent. So I'd actually done a lot of shadowing with him my junior, senior year, and was like, of course I'm going to finish out my college degree and everything that brings, but I think I want to go into real estate. And so I actually started getting my license while I was in college. It turns out I have my daughter, Kylie, who's, 3, 4 years older than all my other kids, a little earlier than expected. Kind of throws you for a loop when you find out you're having your first kid younger, when you're feeling unprepared. And so you get sucked into this, okay, I need something with security. I need a W-2. I need a full-time job. And so I fell off of getting my real estate license way back then, even though I knew that's what I felt like I was passionate about getting into, but I needed the security. Ended up in medical sales right out of college. Did that for a year and a half. Absolutely hated it. Just didn't work for the family dynamic that I like to have, out the door at 4 a.m., to beat surgeries, basically in the door at 3, 4 p.m. and then doing paperwork till 7 with a newborn. That didn't work. And so I said, okay, maybe I want to go back towards the construction real estate world. That's always been interesting to me. So I got my full-time job with Whitecap at the time, a construction operations kind of analyst, kind of all the way at the bottom of the totem pole. And probably about 6 months after I started that job, I started working on my real estate license again because I was like, this is great, this is secure, but this isn't it. I still don't see myself doing this for the rest of my life. And started working on my real estate license 2 hours every morning before I went in for my W-2 job, knocked it out, and got my license probably about a month and a half, and thought it was off to the races and I was about to be the super successful real estate agent, quit my W-2 job. But turns out 6 years later, still here because I've learned how to juggle that, how to appreciate the safety and security that provides for my family, but also figure out these productivity hacks to where I can juggle that and real estate, kind of building these businesses as well on the side. So got my license and, dove in from there. From there, it's just been, again, figuring out how to be as productive as possible and continue to build, this real estate business on top of my W-2.
Man, thank you for sharing. I'm sure you've learned a lot of important lessons, a lot of new skills that have helped you, manage everything that you got going on to this point in time. But let me ask, I would think that a lot of people, I don't want to say most, but a lot of people might start to look at, okay, I'm having some success now. I can let go of some of these things or just focus more on one thing. What is it, if that makes sense, what is it that makes you want to keep doing it all?
Yeah, and truthfully, I think it's the way I was raised and kind of some internal character traits that I've got going on, and a need for security is what I've found, kind of doing some more digging into myself over the years, is the need for security, and that is what a W-2 provides. And so for me, I just need to reach the next level of success with my real estate business on the side, but then I still find that I guess my capacity has continued to increase over time too. And so for me, it's just been, at what point am I, seriously giving away or losing real estate business or money because of the full-time job? And truthfully, I haven't gotten there, just through leverage and productivity hacks and just my general capacity, for the amount of work that I feel like I can do in a, 8 to 10 hour workday. And I just still haven't gotten there. And every time I think I'm there and I'm like, this is the breaking point, I've got to go full-time real estate, I make it through, and then, and then I appreciate that I'm still with Whitecap, and, so it's just been I just haven't quite gotten to that point where I know I need to give it yet.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we'll set Whitecap aside for now, right? I know how important that is in your life, but to focus on the real estate aspect, the Cody Kuhn real estate,
Of course.
tell us, just kind of recap real quick right now, what are your different business lines, I guess, so to speak, that you have going on under Cody Kuhn real estate?
Primarily my residential and kind of commercial sales that I do. And what's cool about the W-2 job is I'm not required to have my license part with them. So that couples up well with being able to do residential real estate as a, licensed agent. And so primarily residential sales, not too much leasing, but I'll do that for, friends and family that I know where it's kind of convenient to the area. A partner of mine just closed a really big commercial deal that, I kind of helped mentor him through, which was awesome. And then my short-term rental stuff on the side. So I've definitely niched myself down into, obviously, a lot of first-time buyers coming out of college. I'm really, over the last year or two, tipping the scales more towards listings, which is a lot of my first clients, 6+ years ago, kind of circling back around. So now I'm about, probably 50-50 or 60-40 listings to buyers, which is great. And then a lot of experience with investments, flips for investors, or listing flips for investors. And then short-term rentals is really kind of the super niche thing that I've worked myself into, which started out as just an interest that kind of popped up on your Instagram. It got big in COVID. There's all these courses for Airbnb this, Airbnb that. And I was like, maybe I'd try to look into the Airbnb arbitrage, is what it was at the time, which really interested me. And then I started up my kind of property management model because there's a little less risk in that, and then got that rolling. And that's just been a very slow, kind of natural progression of, I've been referred to X owner who's got a property. And then I either help them set them up and run them, or I kind of teach them how to run them themselves, more as a consulting role. And so, yeah, residential sales, a little bit of commercial, and then my short-term rental properties is, the primary Cody Kuhn real estate umbrella, I guess.
Yes, obviously still a lot going on there, but take me back to, let's talk about the fundamentals, right? So I know you've got process, I know you've learned leverage, all those things that I want to talk about here in a second. But what got your business off the ground, man? What was the focus? And did you want to build like a relationship-based, referral-based, sphere-based business? Did you use internet leads, social media? how did you initially build your business to the level where you could start, diversifying a little bit?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, I think if I go back and think about it, I was blessed with the W-2 job because I wasn't starving for a paycheck. And so that allowed me to really think about my real estate business and the people I wanted to work with. Because I've worked with, people that haven't been as pleasant. I said, okay, what can I do to put myself in the position to work with clients that like I love and that they love me, and we mesh really well together. And so my entire 6 years has been focused on how do I get in the room with those people? How do I connect with those people? And so my whole business, I mean, call it 99% without actually knowing the numbers. I would say 99% of my business is either Sphere, people met in college or high school or after that I've just kept in touch with. Sphere referrals from either that Sphere family or past clients, and then just relationships that I'm building. I just got a listing referral a couple days ago from a builder of mine that I've got a really good relationship with. And I've just found that's the business I love doing. I'm okay building my business slower by just focusing on nurturing those relationships essentially. And it was a slow start. Absolutely. I didn't sell my first home in real estate for 8 months. And then business just snowballs. And that's the relationship business of real estate, is it never starts out heavy from the start for most people. It snowballs, and it's lots of nurturing and expanding those relationships over, from what I'm seeing, 6 years to really get to the point where production is kind of skyrocketing, truthfully, lately.
You started out with a little bit of security, right? Like you said, with the W-2 job, 8 months to sell your first home or for your first sale, which is not entirely unheard of, right? In our line of business, sometimes it does take a while. At this point in time, as you got your feet underneath you, everything's rocking and rolling. What's the process to continue to build that Sphere-based business, to continue to stay in touch with those people that you referenced in your database and to grow your database? Is that something you're still focused on today?
Yeah, it definitely is. And truthfully, with, the different businesses that I have running, and then with another full-time job called family, it is hard. It's very, very hard to find the time to grow your Sphere, right? I have my Sphere from college that I feel like I've done really well with connecting with and following up with and just staying up to date on what's going on in their lives. I do well at staying in touch with past clients and everything. It's growing that is ultimately the tough part. And I find the best way that I've done that or kind of grown my network is through social media for the most part. Telling clients every client, if you do a good job, they're going to say, hey, what can I get you for the closing? Let me buy you a bottle of this, when really it's us that, bring them the closing gifts a lot of the times. And I just preach to them, the only thing I need from you is to tell somebody that you enjoyed working with me. And I always try to follow up with clients with something along those lines. And you would just be surprised at how often then they think, okay, if he did a great job for me, I owe him something. Let me tell this person that he did an awesome job for me. And that I truthfully led to so many referrals, which has just been incredible. And then it's, the clients you work with that you enjoy that refer you to their friends, you're probably going to enjoy them too. And that's what I found. And so my business at this point is just totally filled with people that I love working with. And that just, helps your day to day go so much better.
Yeah. Is there a time of day that you set aside, or a amount of time a week that to make, because right, conceptually saying, oh, I'm going to have great relationships with my clients, my former clients, my database, I'm going to nurture that, right? That's great in theory, but
Yeah.
what are you actually doing to make sure those things happen?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so I do use, with Keller Williams, we have Command. And so I've got all my contacts in there in Command. And I do track pretty well when I'm touching people that are just down through the contact list. All of my past clients are going to be in there. And then anybody that's kind of reached out to me or expressed interest is going to be in there. But outside of that list, I've got a whole phone book of people, right, that I have on social media or that I have on Facebook. And so what I try to do is typically I time block like crazy. It's one of my kind of biggest productivity hacks that I figured out, that my wife actually pushed on me a couple years ago. She was like, you got too much going on in your head to not put this on paper and time block and do all this stuff. So she gave me that nudge, and it has been the best thing that I've done. So I time block typically once I get back from the gym in the morning, and then I do breakfast and everything with the kids, a little bit of time there. Usually the first couple hours of my day is dedicated to servicing current clients. So let me just get on real quick, see if there's an amendment I need to flip out, any sort of administrative work that I need to do quickly. I'll do my property searches for all my buyers. And then after that, I try to do typically around an hour. It flexes based on what my schedule is that day, but typically around an hour of checking Command. Who have I not touched base with? Just hopping on Facebook. An easy thing is just to go to Facebook and see whose birthday it is, and then message them on Facebook or shoot them a text or, something like that. And that's an easy way to get 2 or 3 touches a day with people that have probably been following you for a long time. So I always try to get on Facebook, and I don't usually post on their wall. I'll send them a direct message and just say happy birthday. But yeah, an hour or so, realistically, probably 3 times a week when I think about it, because my mornings aren't always available, of just dedicated, let's follow up with people that I'm not necessarily working with, just saying hello. I realized they had a birthday last week, or they, just had a baby or something like that. So just trying to stay in touch with those people.
The theme that I keep hearing, Cody, is you're a top 20% agent in your market center, right?
Yes, sir.
Which is phenomenal success. And even at that point, you are still being very deliberate about continuing to stay in touch with people. And I'm not hearing you say, I'm calling these people and asking them if they know anybody that wants to buy or sell real estate, right?
Well,
There's a time and place for those conversations. Like if you discover a need, like you could extend an invitation to have them let you help them, right? But your focus is on the relationship building side of things, if I'm hearing you correctly.
You're 100% right. And I know when you start, you want to hit it with that text that says, hey, just a reminder that I'm here. I'm in real estate. If you need anything, let me know. You're not usually going to get a response, but if you reach out to them and say, hey, how's your birthday? I saw that y'all did this. How did Knox like the skating rink for the first time? They're responding to that, right? And so it's genuine interest in what they have going on in their lives, because truthfully, a lot of people probably aren't reaching out to them like that and showing that true interest and remembering their kids' names and everything like that. And so I enjoy that part of the business, the actual relationship building, the connection. And a lot of the times, probably half of the time, they'll respond with, yeah, would you mind, let me know what you think we could get our house for. We're thinking we want a better school district. It comes up because they know you're in real estate, and they probably know, in the back of their head that, yeah, Cody's trying to stay up with me, because we've done business together in the past or whatever it may be, but he's doing it in a genuine way is my approach to it all.
I think that 100% spot on. You're building trust with them simply by taking an interest in them, talking to them about, asking them about things that are important to them. I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and it was on that exact same topic, right? Like we're not being salespeople whenever we're staying in flow with people, when we're building relationships with the people in our database. We are simply trying to advance the friendship, advance the level of our relationship with them. And they, like someone's kids, for example, they referenced, man, whenever you ask somebody the right question, they kind of light up, and then they, sometimes they won't shut up. Like, you've tapped into gold there, right? Like they called it a geyser. It's like, oh, I stepped on a geyser because as soon as I asked them this question, they just started gushing because it was so important to them. And I think that's a really cool challenge for us as relationship builders in our industry is, and whenever you stumble upon those things, that's a sign that you're doing things right. You're asking people and taking an interest in people in a genuine way, as you put it. And I can't help but think that that's contributed to your level of trust that your clients, that your people in your sphere have with you. And therefore, like you said, when they do have a question about real estate, you've built that trust. Of course, you're going to who they want to come to.
And
for
you're
that.
the guy. And that's the business that I want to have, right? They know you do real estate. If you're doing it right, you're posting about it on social media and you're kind of working that like you should. But your conversation and you're reaching out to them, unless they have expressed interest in selling or buying, and you're genuinely doing a follow-up and say, hey, you mentioned, wanting to sell sometime this year. Is that still what you're thinking? That's normal. But if this person has never told you or expressed interest in buying or selling or anything, and you're just calling them and saying, hey, I'm in real estate. If you need anything, that's not the approach. And I've just always tried to veer away from that, just more into genuine interest in the people's lives to build my business. And I would say that's a majority of the contribution to my business growing over time. It's slow and it's steady. And truthfully, if I would have taken 2 hours a day to cold call or go door knock all the time, my business might have grown quicker. But would I have enjoyed all of the clients that I was working with? Would I have enjoyed, that 2 hours of my time that I was taking away from my family? Or will I, grow my business kind of slower and naturally with clients that I love working with? And that's just been the approach. And the luxury I have because my full-time job is pretty great for a full-time job too. And, some people aren't as lucky in that regard.
Yeah. Would you say that the foundation that you've built with your clients, with the people in your sphere, and then you also reference finding success with social media, right? So I know there's outreach from you on Facebook, on birthdays and things like that. But then people, I think you do a great job of, conveying things through your social media that are important to you as well. Obviously, we see some real estate stuff, but we see your family stuff. We referenced the golf earlier, right? So we get to learn things that are important to Cody and his family. And do you find that sharing those things helps you advance that level of connection with the people in your sphere, and maybe even find people who have things in common with you, and therefore cementing that relationship even further?
You're absolutely right. When, and I've gone through phases over the 6 years to try to figure out what is my social media strategy. And, 10 agents will tell you 10 different things. One says to set up a realtor specific page, only post real estate stuff on there. Another says be yourself and be a personality on your own profile and post about your career and what you're doing. Just don't make that all of it. And that's the approach that I've taken, is just a mix of my real estate stuff that I enjoy and I love posting about, and that I do get a lot of good feedback on, but I get way more feedback about posting the golf video, skipping school with my kids to play golf one day, or my wife's sourdough post, funny post about my wife's sourdough. I get way more engagement, just like connection and everything with people in that, than I do posting, a video of a house that I saw. Maybe one or two people are interested in that. And so, yeah, I just have leaned more into just being myself, letting these people kind of get a look into my life and what's important and valuable to me. And I think that that's just led to so much more connection with everybody through my social medias, for sure.
You put that in a very simple, easy way to understand, right? I think that's beautiful, because all of us, we want to overcomplicate it. We want to overcomplicate the approach. We want to come up with some genius new thing that people haven't done before. And then that's outside of our comfort zone. And it just gets so much harder to do those things. The fact that you're just focused on sharing some things that are important to you. Cody's a human being too. Cody has a family. These are the things Cody likes doing. You're just giving people an invitation to connect with you on that level. So I appreciate the way that you put that. And I think another thing that I want to get into with you, and I actually think, did you discuss your mindset on Carla's podcast?
Yeah, we definitely did a little bit, which has been, a big thing for me, especially over the last year, and something I still devote a lot of kind of time and energy to.
Yeah. And your mindset, and I want to tap into that. Let's start with how you keep like your morning routine, right? I think that was part of the conversation with Carla as well that I really enjoyed. And I think there's a lot of value there, especially paired with the amount of other things that you have going on, right? So you're kind of setting the stage first thing with your routine in the morning to be able to tackle the rest of the day. But would you elaborate on that a little bit for us, what that looks like for you?
Yeah. And so I can tell you what works for me and preface it with what works for me may not work for you. But I think what's important is pursuing and figuring out what does work for you. A morning routine, regardless of what that looks like for you, is critical. If you want to get up and have the best mindset to basically show up as your best self in your career, for your family and everything, you've got to have a strong morning routine that you can at least do Monday through Friday, take the weekends off, sleep in, whatever it is. But for your primary work days, you've got to have the morning routine. For me, and I think it's a combination of things, it started out just getting up early and going to the gym. And so I still do this. And I've been on the morning gym grind for probably about 3 years now, where I'm walking into the gym around like 5:30 or so, which right now is just painfully cold. But honestly, you walk outside and it just like lights you up because it's so cold outside. And so I walk into the gym around 5:30, and the gym's important for me just physically. I like to feel good. So you can go in, you can get your physical fitness in, which I think is also, critical. I like to listen to a podcast while I'm in the gym. And so I feel like I leave a little bit smarter, a little bit more educated. And then I've started my day and I'm walking out of the gym before most people are even awake. So I feel like you get a few different things out of just waking up and going to the gym before the rest of the world is awake. And it just makes you feel great. And so the gym is the first thing I do. I do a lot of prayer while I'm driving. And so on the way to the gym, it's typically like gratitude things like I try to think about and say out loud, I think is what's important here. Things that I am grateful for and starting my morning out that way. Hit the gym, listen to a podcast, read my book while I do my cardio. I've got some great book recommendations right now for anybody that wants them. Leave the gym. On the way home is basically 10 minutes of just silence and just prayer for me. And then I think for you, whether it's prayer or meditation or whatever it may be, I think it's important that you find some quiet time to be with your thoughts and put your heart out there. And so that's what I do. I get home and then I'm probably walking in the door around 7, usually trading places with my wife who's heading out the door for the gym then. And all the kids are running downstairs, getting ready for breakfast and everything. So I've got about an hour and a half there of just feeding them, hanging out with them, look at my schedule for the day. And then when my wife gets home for the gym, I'm off to the races. And so that is the quick, Monday through Friday, every week morning routine that I try pretty religiously to stick to.
So much value there. Hit me with the book recommendation though. Before we move on, I don't want to forget that. What's your top one right now?
The one I'm reading right now is The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. It's John Homer. It's incredible. And it's speaking to me very clearly about how we live in, this kind of hustle and grind society essentially, but not taking the time to slow down. And it just talks about how to find that balance of pursuing your career, pursuing your successes, but taking time mentally and physically to just slow down. I bet it would relate to a lot of people in our, generation who are just kind of wake up, hustle, grind. And I think there's a place for that, but I'm learning a lot from the book. It's great.
I appreciate so much about people that are coming out against the, the hustle culture, right? We keep hearing these buzzwords and it just makes life so much less enjoyable, right? And whenever you focus more on, well, am I doing the right things? Am I doing the, the 80-20 principle? Am I doing the right 20% of things that are going to give me 80% of my results? Why not focus more on things like that? They're going to like make your life more productive, more abundant, and spend less time doing it, but more time on the right things. And I think
100%.
that's,
And
I appreciate you
you
sharing that.
just read that from the book. Basically, it gets into, that and leverage and, passing off or leveraging things that you've outgrown. That way you can do things that continue to grow. Because one of the leading factors to depression or like an anxious person is a feeling of basically like they're stalling out in life, like they're not growing anymore. It leads quickly to that feeling. And it has for me, in the past. And once I flipped into this, like, okay, now I feel like I'm growing again. I'm pursuing my passions. I'm feeling, I'm doing things that bring me life. It can just change your entire, mindset and get you out of that funk essentially. And so the book dives into a lot of that, which I just am incredibly passionate about over the probably last 6 months to a year on this personal development kind of journey of mine.
Right. You mentioned gratitude. What's the power of gratitude in your business and in your personal life?
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if it's just luck of the draw or if it, truly is just God working. But when I started, probably about 6 months ago, 4 to 6 months ago, really intentionally journaling and I guess going through the gratitude steps and thinking daily all the time about what you are so grateful for and putting myself in positions to, I guess, look past my little circle, people that are less fortunate and things such as that. A big thing for me is the youth group camp that I led last fall, which really opened my eyes up to a lot of, younger kids that are in some, pretty unfortunate kind of circumstances. And so it's really just waking up, especially, and I do this all the time throughout the day, waking up and just naming off things, you're grateful for, your wife, your family. It starts out real basic, but it's kind of like a muscle that you flex. And what I found is my list started out with 5 very generic things. I would say it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to the gym now. But then I found myself appreciating my wife more and appreciating my children more and the time that I have with them more, and just appreciating every client that I get and every referral that I get. Like, truthfully, I think you can't be in an anxious state and a grateful state at the same time. And so I think if, for me, it's 2 or 3 times a day where I will take an intentional 30 seconds to just say, my life is amazing. I'm so thankful that Erik wants me on this podcast. I'm so thankful that I just got a listing referral yesterday from a builder that must value me and trust me. I'm so thankful. And I go through it for 30 seconds. And even if you're in the weeds on work and you're doing something that you hate in that moment, you can't be kind of anxious about it. And it is crazy how the power of your thoughts and your words can literally change how you feel. And I've noticed that, in my life a lot over the last 6 months, where before that, I wasn't practicing these things, and I can tell I'm a different person now, truthfully.
You can't be anxious and grateful at the same time. Is that the way you put that?
Can't. No, yeah, you can't. It's in
That's
it's in the Bible. God says it. You see it in lots of books, and I am like the truth to this. I grew up a very anxious kid seeking security. A lot of these things that I've been working through over the past few years, and the one thing that has just been the instant for me is like when I am showing gratitude and telling, and just to myself all day long, the things I'm thankful for, my anxiety has just like the craziest thing, just like swoosh gone. And so I do that probably more religiously than anything. I pray, I talk about things I'm grateful for, and my anxiety's just been completely out the door.
Man, I appreciate you sharing that so much. It makes me think back to probably 7 or 8 years ago. I was going through a tough time, just mentally, things like that. I tried talking to people, tried some medication at the time. Honestly, I'll share that. A lot of people have been through that journey, but it does make me very willing to share my personal testimony with the power of gratitude. But like you said, I know God brought me through that. But that's where the gratitude came from, was focusing on that aspect of my life, focusing on my faith. But that, to this day, I know that the power of gratitude, the power of prayer is what brought me out of that tough time. It wasn't anything else. It wasn't the science. It wasn't the medicate. Like, it was none of those things. I didn't even stick with those things. Once I found the power of gratitude and the power of faith, it just totally brought me out of it. And I've never heard it put so simply as you did with the, you can't be anxious and grateful at the same time. But that states it so eloquently, so perfectly.
Yeah, I've heard it a couple times and I've read it, and that has just stuck with me, and I have like truthfully experienced that in my life by implementing that.
So whether that's starting your day off with it, or man, you're encountering a difficult situation, the little rental crisis that you were just
Yeah.
telling me about before we started recording, even in little moments like that, I'm sure that helps.
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. I mean, I think you plug it into your schedule and you make it a daily thing, but prayer and meditation or just, showing gratitude, it can happen in the moment, a moment where you're feeling very overwhelmed or very stressed. Take a minute, just get up from your desk or whatever it is you're doing. Take a lap around the office. If you're in the office, for me, get outside. And just take, a minute, 5 minutes to just breathe and remind yourself of everything that you are so blessed to have. And you'll come back in, you still got to deal with your crap that you got going on, but it's most likely gonna help, right? It's gonna help calm you down. It's gonna help you breathe a little bit, and then you can have a better, fresh mind, kind of jump back into whatever you're dealing with.
So would you say, Cody, I know that it seems like personal development has kind of been a theme, with you in this conversation. What's been the power of that in your life? Because I know your upbringing, right? I think you called it atypical is the
Yeah.
way that you phrased it. And I'm sure that you overcame some things just like a lot of people have. But what's your journey been with personal development? How's that helping you to this day?
My personal development formula is kind of what I've coined it as. So it's just the combination of things that put me in the best mindset and the things that fill my cup and bring me life. That way I can basically just show up as the best version of myself for my wife and my kids and for my clients and just be a happier, more joyous person in life. For the past couple years, my pursuit didn't break through or get really anywhere with it until, probably like 6 months ago to a year ago. I'm, working this full-time job. Maybe other people view me as successful. I don't view myself, that way a lot of the times. I'm so working through a lot of kind of these internal validations and things that I was, seeking for the longest time. And you're just not going to get internal validation from worldly things. And I've found that. And so personal development for me has been finding that combination of everything, my daily schedule, my productivity hacks, my spiritual kind of commitment to talking to God and exploring my relationship with Jesus and really leaning into that has been just monumental. Getting in the habit of showing gratitude has been huge. My goal for 2025, and I am 24 days into really committed to it, is journaling, getting my thoughts down on paper. And I see an emotional coach. Some people call them a therapist, but I've been seeing a guy named Phil for a few years now. And it's one of the best things that's ever happened to me, is having another unbiased man in your life that you can talk to about the stuff that, men and women both go through, but me as a man that, that men go through, and the weight of the world at time that's on your shoulders. And so for me, it was opening the door and talking to him that has opened the door to connecting with other men in my life, and being vulnerable with them has been huge as well. And the gym, some sort of physical fitness, getting outside, leaning into your spiritual side, and then connecting with people has, as I think, been huge for me, because I grew up in a world where I didn't ever really feel connected to people. And so learning to let down my guard has been a big hurdle for me.
I keep thinking, man, this dude's intentional about the journey, about the growth. I'm sure that your formula, as it looks for you today with personal development or time blocking or your morning routine, seems like you're constantly on the quest to find the right combination of the things, as you said, they're going to make you show up as your best self. And I think that's really admirable, because it takes some trial and effort, but it ultimately takes being intentional about finding what's going to work for you. There's a lot of different ways to build this business in real estate, and the way to find the way that it all works for you, it can be a journey, but it's worth being intentional about finding out what
Yeah.
that looks like.
You're not going to copy and paste, what works for Erik isn't going to copy and paste what works for me, but maybe you could take some bits of what Erik's doing and some bits of what Cody's doing, and then kind of develop what does work best for you and with your family. And then something Jeffrey has really poured into me lately is understanding and coming to terms and accepting the season that you're in life. So I put so much pressure on myself to be reaching out to all these clients, or to be going to these social events, or to do 900 million things that in the back of my head, know I want to do. And Jeffrey's like, yeah, but when's the last time you spent a Friday night at home with your family, just like eating dinner? And he was like, you've got 3 kids. And so Jeffrey, my coach, who you know well, is just absolutely amazing. And he pours into me understanding and accepting the seasonality of your life. And so I think that formula for you, that personal development formula, it's going to change. Always continue seeking out deliberately, like, what you can add to it or take away to be more productive and to be in a better mindset. Give yourself a little grace. It's something I'm trying to learn to do, is just giving myself grace and understanding the season that I'm in. I can hear my kids doing who knows what downstairs right now, and I'm surprised they're not crawling through the window right now, but it's just the season that I'm in, and learning to love it.
So as someone that, now I know you said you don't necessarily always consider yourself successful, but from the outside looking in, looks like you're running a pretty successful business, a dual career, as a successful dual career agent. What role would you say coaching has had in that and still plays in that? Because you referenced Jeffrey, shout out to Jeffrey. He's the man.
Shout out
But
Jeffrey.
why do you continue to pursue having a coach when you could say, oh, well, no, I'm doing all right on my own?
No, I think it's having someone that has, maybe not even exactly been through what you are, but someone who, you look up to, and in Jeffrey's case is just a great human being that is really truly invested like in me. And so I think coaching is something everyone should do, because there is someone that knows more than you out there, and you've got to be constantly pursuing the knowledge that these people have and trying to grow, who you are. So I think a good coach isn't necessarily going to tell you how to close more deals, in the next 60 days. And that's great in real estate. But I think a good coach is going to look at your life and your situation and say, here are the opportunities to grow. Here are the areas you need to give yourself grace, and just give you an ear, to listen to, and nudges in the right direction. And I think if you can find that in a coach, you've won. And Jeffrey is my guy. We've got such a strong relationship, almost probably a year and a half later now of coaching with him.
He's a great guy. And like you said, just great person, very
Yeah,
much invested in his coaching clients. I know that for a fact. What would you say, Cody, heading into, well, we're in 2025, most of the year still ahead of us, sticking with the visionary theme, what's your focus for where you're taking your business in 25?
Yeah, it's right in this moment, leverage. And so I'm bringing on, and it's been a solo act for 6 years now. I'm bringing on my first assistant to help with my short-term rental. She's starting first week of February. So right now doing a lot of planning for her. But again, leveraging off the task or activities that I know I've outgrown, or where I can spend my time, better. My time is better spent servicing my clients and nurturing my relationships, and, doing, these types of networking events and connecting with people, than it is going on Amazon to order a bunch of towels for my rental that needs new towels, right? So really just breaking down the things that I need to leverage is going to be huge for me this year. And then just building more systems around. Now my database is getting larger. I've got a lot of people to keep up with. So really building out better systems for making sure that I'm touching these people at the right times. And just staying in touch with everybody in my database, I think, is going to be big for me this year. And then I guess, it's going to be continuing with a lot more listings coming through, kind of really learning how to maximize, what you can get out of one listing, which isn't just that listing, right? So spending a lot of time on that lately too. It's just developing the processes around a listing and how I can market to the neighborhood, and really set up processes around that is something I'm doing as I'm getting more into listings over the last year too.
Sounds to me like I'm still hearing a common theme of, focusing on the right things, right? Because we all know listings, that those are kind of gold whenever you're building a real estate business that brings the buyers. So you gain some leverage there. You're talking about leverage and hiring, an assistant. What is, kind of last question here before we start to wrap up, what has been, because that's a whole new level of growth, right? Now you're kind of taking responsibility whenever you bring someone else onto your team. You're paying them, a salary, in return for their help, in return for the being able to implement that leverage in your business.
Yes.
How are you feeling about the proposition of, taking on that additional, I'm going to call it an investment, because that's the way that I would look at it too. But how do you feel about that?
It's a tough step to take, and something that Jeffrey's been yelling at me for over a year now is leverage, whether it's a VA, whether it is an in-person assistant, or whether it's a TC to just help with your TC. He was like, man, you got too much going on to be ordering, again, going back to the same thing, ordering towels for your rental. He's like, you got too much going on. And I just held on to it for a year, because again, I feel like every time I think I'm to that breaking point, I'm like, I can do it a little longer, and then it gets a little better, and it keeps going in waves. But then I find that if I really look at the amount of time I spend on a monthly basis doing things that I've outgrown, per se, if I would have spent that 10 hours nurturing my clients, or planning a client event, or, any other sort of prospecting or whatever it may be, it would probably make me X what I'm paying this assistant, And so it's tough to do. I'm excited for it. I know that there's a lot of work on the front end. For me, it's not even the financial piece that scares me as much. It's more so offloading something that I know I can easily do. It's handing someone this thing that I know I can just go knock out in 10 minutes. But the issue is I'm doing 10 minutes here, 20 minutes here, an hour here, and I'm spending 10, 15 hours a month.
Cumulative effect of that.
Yeah, it's the cumulative effect. And that's another thing Jeffrey has pointed out. Because I'm like, oh, but it only takes me 15 minutes to put my contracts in command. He was like, how many of those did you have to do this month? And how many, and he was like, so you're spending 10 hours a month on this. He was like, what if you spent 10 hours a month calling your past clients and your database? And I'm like, mind blown. So I'm nervous for it, but I'm excited. I'm excited for the next step, and I'm excited to, spend that time that I get back, which I think is probably the more important thing. Is I'm not hiring an assistant so I can get 10 hours back to go golf, although I'd love to go golf a little more. I'm hiring an assistant so that I can spend that 10 hours deliberately doing better money-making activities, nurturing my clients, building my business, and investing that time back into the business. I think if you, pay an assistant and you get your 10 hours back and you waste it, then you're not going to see that return from the assistant,
Cody, I think anybody who's listening can see exactly why I wanted to have you on this podcast and wanted to get this conversation out there, because you've spoken to everything from the process, the systems, the time blocking, focusing on the right things in your business. But I think it all comes from, man, your evolution with an already strong mindset, but your quest to continue that, your quest to kind of challenge everything and being open to hearing from a Jeffrey or a coach or whoever that is in your life that's, yeah, you might be able to do it, man, but is it the best use of your time? And I think that's probably a conclusion that you may have come to eventually, right? You're a smart guy, but sometimes, just having that catalyst, that conversation that just like, yeah, you know what, man, it's time. It's time to let this go and refocus and keep building this thing.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at, and so I'm excited. She's starting in a couple weeks on the short-term rental front. She's got TC work, so I'm hoping to kind of work her into, my residential business as well, because we definitely need some more help over there. And so, yeah, I'm excited for the year and hoping for, last year was my best year yet in the industry. I'm hoping for to do better than that even this year.
Well, I can see that in your future, man. I think you're going to do great things. And I appreciate you being on today. Would you just share with everyone real quick where they could follow you?
Yeah, so best way is probably just going to be on Instagram. That's where I, post the most about what I've got going on day to day and my family and everything. And so that's going to be Cody Kuhn, CODYKUHN.realestate, is the handle there. And then, y'all, you can always reach out to me via call, text as well. Happy to share anything I can with you guys.
And anyone who has real estate needs, obviously in the North Atlanta area, I'm sure in general, you can see this guy's work ethic. You can see his heart. You can see how he treats people, his mindset around that. So I have no doubt Cody would do a great job serving you as a client if you ever needed that in the Atlanta area. Cody, thank you for being on today, man. I appreciate your time as the very first guest on the Real Estate Visionary podcast.
This was awesome. I'll be back, hopefully, man.
Yeah, we'll come back for a chapter 2, a 2026 version.